All right, ladies and gentlemen, the microphone is once again broken down. Batteries.
Oh wait, it's working now.
It is, I think.
Oh, it is. It's a miracle. All right, Maurice is prepared to answer questions. I'm sure there must be some interesting questions. Who's first? Yes, you have to speak loudly so they can all hear.
I was wondering where the inspiration from this story came from.
Where did the inspiration for the story come from?
There's so many pieces here that I grew upon. Some of them are personal experiences, and which led me to want, hope that the science would someday come about. A lot of it was just I love science fiction. I like writing and watching and reading science fiction. And so I wanted to do something that was in the genre, but was a little different from much of the sci-fi that was produced. But yeah, it was a mix of the inspirations that are out there. You see the Matrix, red pill, blue pill, kind of, all of the Cronenberg work was greatly inspirational to me. And of course, I've had friends, issues in my own family. There's a genetic disease. The little boy who's in he fought and he battled leukemia. And so some of that, helped me research the science that I drew upon to write what you saw. Sorry? How long?
No.
Oh yeah, I did write the script myself. It's my first script, so I hope. Thank you very much. It's the first time in life and a career changer. So for anybody who's my age or that's a big gap there. But anybody who's thinking about late life career changes, I'm a living, breathing example of someone who did it very late, and I'm very happy I did it. Better than not having done it at all. So, thank you very much. I appreciate all you guys coming here tonight and watching this film with us. It's Kathleen and Erica are here, the two actresses. And
Yeah, because the two actresses just stand up. Please.
Kathleen and Erica, of course, flew in all the way from LA. So thank you very much.
I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, sure.
This is broken again? Broken again?
Yeah. It's okay, we can just talk loudly, let's not waste time.
All right, another question, way back there.
Yes, I have another question. Can you speak
Loudly.
about the role
You
that,
have to talk loudly.
Can you speak about the role that mortality plays in the film, please?
I mean, this really, this film is, in fact, in my opinion, about mortality and whether I think eventually, human beings will maybe not be immortal, but extend our lifespans very significantly. And the question is, how moral is that pursuit, and the steps we take, will the ends justify those means? I think those are all questions to ask, but I try to do it in a fun, kind of exciting, thriller, sci-fi way, rather than be pedantic. Go ahead.
With difficult subject like that, how did you find the money? Because this is not Hollywood film that is easy studio do. But you were successful in finding the money. How did you convince them to do something outside the box?
So, being a late in life career changer, I guess, has certain advantages. I had a career in business for the last many years, and so I had access to some investors that had actually backed me on other projects not related to cinema, not related to film. My friend and business partner, Jay, and I, obviously, we had some of our own money invested, so we had some skin in the game, which gave other people comfort that we were serious about what we were doing, even though we were first-timers. We did a lot of things to keep the budget really low, because we didn't have a lot of money to play with.
How much?
It was more than Blair Witch, less than Avatar. So, somewhere in there. Yes, please.
Sir, Al Faxon, first, tremendous film. How many minutes or hours of filming were boiled down to make the film?
It's an interesting question. I am a first-time filmmaker, so my script was far more ambitious than what you see on the screen here. We shot a lot more. In retrospect, we could have probably shot 10 days less and still had this film, but I didn't know that going in because I never made a film. And so, we probably, the first cut I had of this film was 126 minutes. Then I cut it down to 105 minutes, and then it took me, the whole process of cutting the film took over a year. And this is finally an 80-minute version that you see now. So there was a lot of stuff that got a lot less on the cutting floor.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
What's next?
A great question. I mean, I enjoyed this experience so much, and I love science fiction and thrillers and horror so much. I'd love to be able to come back and make another film. A lot of it, depends, quite honestly, on the financial return for my investors on this one. So I believe it's my fiduciary responsibility to ensure that nobody gets hurt, that everybody's money is protected. And so that's where I'm trying to focus my effort for the time being. I have a script that I've written, which is in the same genre as what you just saw. Assuming that we find an audience and people connect with this material, I think I'll get to make a second film, which would be a dream come true. If not, I'm just very thankful that I got to make this one. It was an honor to work with Kathleen and Ian and Erica. All of my actors I got to work with, Jenna and Karishma, who are fantastic actors and soon to be superstars. My own son, my business partner's daughter were there, so it was a very unique experience for me, a dream come true, and I'm just thankful to be standing here in front of you. I want to thank Patrick for giving us a chance to screen this year at the BIFF. This is a small little film. I mean, I'm so glad I got to come here because we made the film in Fitchburg, which is, those of you who are from here know it's 40 miles west of here, 40, 50 miles. And our location is just one little enclosed facility, which exists in Fitchburg. We were fortunate enough to find it, and the owners gave us permission to come in and shoot this. I call that location sort of our 10th character. We have nine actors, speaking characters in the film, and our location, I think, is our 10th one. So that's Massachusetts. The state of Massachusetts gave us tax incentives, so we really appreciated that. That helped us. And of course, all our crew, or most of our crew, is local. So.
Hi, congrats on the film. Just two quick questions for you. The first is, how did you get Henry to be in it? He was in Lost. I mean, I recognized him right away. And second question is, what are your plans for distribution? What's next in terms of what outlets are you planning on launching this in? Do you have a distributor lined up? Please advise on that.
Sure. Okay, I'll just repeat the question. So, first question was, how did we get Henry Ian Cusick to agree to play this role? You know, we did struggle. My friend and business partner who I mentioned, Jay, and I, we set out on this sort of chaotic quest to go make a film. And we'd never made a film. We'd just taken a couple of online classes. And so nobody obviously was taking us seriously. Mark Tillman, who was our casting director, somehow believed in us. He read the script. He took the time to read the script. Most people were not willing to do that. And he agreed to take us on as clients. And he was able to get the script in front of Ian's manager, I believe it was, for another client of that manager. But I think when he read it, he felt that Ian was a better fit. Ian and I had a couple of Skype calls, and I was really impressed, of course, with Ian. He's a tremendous actor. He has great presence, and he has, you know, intensity and the ability to communicate, on the one hand, the craziness, but on the other hand, sort of the nobility of his quest and the the paternal protective instinct and the warmth that he feels towards his kids. So when I met him and we talked, it was clear that within 2 calls, I knew he had to be our Quint. And luckily he had the time and he could come out, and so it all worked out. With regards to distribution, we do have a few offers already for distribution. But we think it's still early. We just started our festival run. This is actually the first time we're showing the completed film. We did have a screening in Portugal before this, but that film isn't exactly this version. And so, we're going to play in a few more places. We're in conversations with people in the industry, and we'll see. Hopefully, we were able to get this film out there. Thankfully now with so many VOD platforms, hopefully we can reach our audience. Yes, please.
First of all, great first film, great writing, great directing.
Thank you.
Very enjoyed it. Secondly, curious, as your first film, did you storyboard every scene going into it, or did you kind of wing it like some other people do?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, so the question was whether we storyboarded the before shooting, and I think let me answer it. We did not. I wish we did. Now, looking back, they said storyboarded. It was, I think, an artist said it was going to be, I don't know, $5,000 or $7,000, which was a pricely sum for us. We didn't have the money. I think I should have storyboarded it more myself, but I didn't, and I live to regret it. But the one advantage we had is we had these tremendous actors. So when you have Ian and Kathleen and Jenna and Karishma and Erica, who know what they're doing, that covers a lot of my not knowing what I was doing.
Yeah.
So that helped. Yes, please.
Did you enjoy writing more or directing more?
Repeat that. Repeat
Okay,
that.
so the question was, do I enjoy writing more or directing more? And it's almost 2 different personalities, I think, to be a writer and to be a director. Writing is such a solitary pursuit. You're kind of locked up in a room, and at least I need to just be alone to write. While, directing, we're working with 50 people, and you need 50 people to give their best and enable them to give their best. They all want to give their best, but I think a director's job is to enable them to give their best. And so it's like 2 completely different skill sets. And then producing is a whole third, which I didn't have to do a whole lot of because Jay, my producing partner, took kind of the heavy lifting there. But producing is a whole third set of skills you need. So I think it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to make a film too. And thankfully we just had fantastic people. We just got really lucky. Yes, please, ma'am.
So
loved the film. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I really dig sci-fi. One of my favorite parts was when she shot him. Well, he shot her. Yes. But I'm wondering, the ending was also very intriguing. Did you, go over different endings at all, or try to, kind of go back and forth about the ending at all?
It's very difficult for me to answer that without it being a spoiler to anybody else who's going to watch the film. So we'll have to, right, Patricia? We'll have to be careful. So, but I did explore a lot of different endings. In one of my drafts early, I had completely left the embryo out. So we talked about all this embryo, and I had no ability to. I had not written what happens with that embryo. And then, I got a lot of feedback from my I have 3 kids. The youngest of whom, by the way, plays that little boy in the film. And all 3 of them read the script, and they were the only ones who were patient enough to read every version, every draft of every scene and give me notes. Everybody else wants to be paid, and these are my free labor. And so one of my kids pointed out that I'd forgotten this embryo. And so, I had to then figure out what happens, which I think made for a better ending. Because otherwise that would have been a loose strand. Maybe I would have caught it myself, but thankfully they did. My daughter, for example, she made a point for Ian. I had initially written Masterson actually to be a man. And then she pointed out that it would be really interesting if all his conflict was with women. And so, I thought that was a good idea, and I kind of took that. So I received inputs from many sources. My children gave me a lot of feedback. They read the script many times. It was I was writing. Kathleen would say something, and I'd change. We'd be on set, and I'd scribble on the, and then, thankfully, because we have these professional, tremendous actors, they were able to just on the day just go with the change. So,
Well, you did a great job.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Just one more question. Would you consider working with Miss Quinlan and Miss Servin again? And if you do, can they be in the 2 main roles? Because they were absolutely brilliant.
Yes, they were, and it was my dream come true when Kathleen said she would play this role. As was it when Erica said that she would be part of Chimera, and I'm very thankful to both of them for doing that. I'd work with them again in a heartbeat. I just need a couple $1 million. So anybody here who brought the checkbook, please step up. Let's get a drink after this. I've got some papers you can sign.
Any other questions?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah. First of all, I loved it. I thought it was so gripping.
Thank you.
I feel like the science is so central to the script and so instrumental to probably writing it. I was wondering if you had a science background or if you consulted with someone.
So funny thing is, this is all biology, and I am a mechanical engineer. And I went into a special program when I was 15 years old where they let me drop biology in India. I went to school in India.
When you were 50, you don't even look 50.
15, when I was 15. When I was 15, I dropped biology. And I had done no biology, so I didn't know the difference between DNA and RNA and what does one. And so when I started writing this, and I took actually my kids' biology textbooks, and I just read it, 600 pages. I just read it, and I just tried to teach myself this. So the sight of blood, when I had to cut a frog in class, I fainted when I was 15 years old. So that's why I knew I couldn't be a doctor. I had to be an engineer because there was nothing else I could do.
Funny you say that, the film's so bloody.
Yes, it is. I've changed now over the years. Yeah. But it's I just researched the science. I just, anybody can do it, and you just put your head to it, you apply yourself. Everything's possible, and I think this film's a living testament because it came out of nowhere, and it's here today. Yes, miss?
Would you consider making a part 2 with the crazy woman at the end?
That's right. Well, the crazy woman at the end, and so for those who didn't hear, the question is, would we make a part 2? Is there an opportunity to make a sequel? I think the story is pretty, it kind of holds the way it is. I don't think it needs a sequel. Like I said, if anybody brought a checkbook and that's what you have your mind set on, we can always discuss that. But there are opportunities because, Quint supposedly is a chimera, supposedly he's immortal. We don't know what happens next. You have the crazy woman there torturing this child who's also supposedly immortal. What happens when he grows. There's plenty of ways you could go with this. So, thank you. Thanks for the question.
We have one more question. There's one up here and one here.
Yes, sir.
Well, congratulations on finishing a first film. It's quite a testament.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the post-production process. You went and shot this thing, and then you
Yeah, and that's when the,
I'm wondering how the project changed once you got back to the edit room. And
Yeah. So the filmmakers, in the room will relate to this, especially if they're first-time filmmakers, because I had no idea. When I really thought, when we finished our last day of shooting, I thought it'd be a couple of weeks and I'd have a film. I was naive. I had no idea what I was doing, but that's a fact. And it took me a year and a half. And I kept thinking, I'm only 2 or 3 weeks away. I'm only 2 or 3, and I think that kept me going. Because if I'd known it was a year and a half, I might have given up. But I was fortunate that DPS, who did the post here, is an LA-based company, and they were very patient with me as a first-time filmmaker. I was asking a lot of questions. I wanted to be involved in everything. I think they were rolling their eyes sometimes with my requests, but they were patient. They held my hand. They guided me through it. I think the color has just turned out beautiful. Of course, David Kruda, who did our cinematography, I think is a genius. I think Aled Roberts, who composed the music, is just a talent. We're going to hear that name. He's a very young guy out of New York. You're going to hear his name, I'm sure, a lot more. But the group in DPS, they pulled this film through for me. Really, I think finding a good post house is just key.
Okay, I'm not allowed to ask or say anything.
Please go ahead. Why
No,
not?
but the boss is gone.
Oh, so then you can say whatever you want.
I was going to comment on the music. I thought that music was fantastic. And then the other thing was, where did all that stuff come from? The bottles and all that scientific stuff everywhere.
So that's why we came to Massachusetts. We found a location that had a lot of that stuff. So I had gone to, I was looking for a lab, and I had gone when I'd written the script, and I would get on a plane on the weekend, and I'd go to Wisconsin or Chicago and try to look at these abandoned facilities. And when I came here, and actually there's a guy who lives up in Fitchburg, and I really regret that I wanted to contact him and invite him to this screening today, Paul Boudreau. And I met him, and he said, look, he met me at the airport, Manchester airport. I still remember this. We were driving to the facility. He had read the script before I came here, and he said, everything you want is in my facility. And he was taking care of this facility for a large company. And it was abandoned, and it had been cleared by the EPA, so all the toxic stuff was taken out, but all the equipment was there, and it was in the right state of decay. So it was kind of rusted, but it was still functional. And we had the cryptobiosis chambers. And the moment we said, oh my God, you could put a kid in there. And then we had these big blue doors, and we saw that, oh my God, you could put a person in there. And so it was just all there. And we had, of course, a very, very creative art department that harnessed everything and put it all on the screen for us. So.
All right, we have to stop there. It's time to go. Wait, you know what? Congratulations. Let's hear it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.